What if I told you that your 30s are not just another decade of your life? They are the decade that will literally determine whether you retire comfortably or spend the rest of your working years just trying to catch up. The financial decisions you make between 30 and 39 have a compounding effect that most people completely underestimate, and by the time they realize it, they're already in their 40s wishing they had known sooner. So today, I am breaking down the major money milestones you need to hit in your 30s, and I am not just going to give you a surface level list. I am going to show you exactly why each one matters, what happens if you skip it, and how real people are actually achieving these things. Stay with me until the end because the last milestone is the one almost nobody talks about, and it might be the most important one of all. Let me start with something that might sting a little. Most people enter their 30s financially confused. They have some debt, maybe a little savings, possibly a retirement account they set up but never really looked at again, and a vague sense that they should probably be doing more. Sound familiar? You're not alone. A huge portion of people in their early 30s are still figuring out the basics, and that is actually okay, because your 30s are when you have enough income to make serious moves, enough experience to know what matters, and enough time for compound interest to do the heavy lifting. But the window does not stay open forever. Every year you delay hitting these milestones is a year you are leaving money, security, and freedom on the table. So let's get into it. The very first milestone you need to hit in your 30s is getting completely crystal clear on your net worth. Not just your income, not just your debt, your actual net worth. This means everything you own minus everything you owe. And I cannot tell you how many people in their 30s have never actually sat down and calculated this number. They know they have a 401k somewhere and they know they have student loans, but the actual number? No idea. Here's why this matters more than almost anything else. You cannot build wealth without knowing your starting point. Imagine trying to get directions to a destination without knowing where you are right now. That's exactly what happens when you try to make financial progress without knowing your net worth. The moment you calculate that number, something shifts psychologically. Negative net worth becomes a target to eliminate. Positive net worth becomes a number you want to grow. It gives your financial life a scoreboard, and people perform better when they can see the score. Now, here's where the value loop kicks in. Every single milestone I'm about to share feeds into one thing: building a net worth that gives you options. Options to quit a job you hate, options to travel, options to retire early or help your kids pay for college, or take care of aging parents. Freedom, in every sense of the word, is bought with net worth. So as we go through these milestones, keep that in the back of your mind. Milestone 2 is eliminating high interest debt, and I mean aggressively. Your 30s are not the time to be slowly chipping away at credit card debt while making minimum payments. High interest debt, anything above 8 or 9% interest, is essentially a guaranteed negative return on your money. Think about it this way. If you have a credit card charging you 20% interest, paying that off is like getting a guaranteed 20% return on your investment. There's no index fund, no stock, no crypto play that can reliably beat that. So why are people prioritizing investing while carrying high interest debt? Often it's because paying off debt doesn't feel as exciting as watching an investment account grow, but the math is brutally clear. Get rid of the high interest debt first. Now, low interest debt, like a mortgage or even some student loans, is a different conversation. That can coexist with investing, but the high interest stuff needs to go, and it needs to go in your 30s. Here's something that creates a lot of emotional tension for people in this stage of life. You're watching friends post about their stock market wins, their crypto portfolios, their real estate investments, and you're sitting there paying down a credit card feeling like you're falling behind. But here's the truth that nobody wants to hear. Your friend who is investing while carrying credit card debt is actually losing ground financially, even if their brokerage account looks impressive. You are playing a smarter game. Own that. Milestone 3, and this is a big one, is fully funding your emergency fund. And I want to be specific about what fully funded actually means. Not 1 month of expenses, not 2 months. We're talking 3 to 6 months of actual living expenses sitting in a high yield savings account, liquid and accessible. Why does this matter so much in your 30s? Because your 30s often come with new and bigger responsibilities. Maybe you've bought a home, maybe you have kids, maybe you're supporting other family members. The stakes are higher than they were in your 20s, and a financial emergency that would have been manageable at 25 can be absolutely devastating at 35 if you're not prepared. Your emergency fund is not just a financial tool, it's a psychological anchor. When you have 3 to 6 months of expenses saved, you make decisions from a place of security rather than desperation. You don't take the first job offer that comes along out of fear. You don't let a car repair derail your entire month. You operate with a level of calm confidence that people without that buffer simply cannot access. Now I want to talk about something that sits underneath all of these milestones, and it's the psychology of delayed gratification. Your 30s is when you really feel the pull between the life you want right now and the life you're building for the future. You want the nice car, you want the vacations, you want the home renovations, and all of that is valid. But the people who hit these financial milestones are the ones who have figured out how to enjoy today without destroying tomorrow. That's the balance, not deprivation, balance. Milestone 4 is getting serious about retirement savings, and I mean really serious. The conversation changes significantly in your 30s because you're no longer just dabbling. You should be maxing out or, at minimum, contributing enough to get your full employer match in your workplace retirement account. And if you have access to a Roth IRA, you should be contributing to that as well. Here's why your 30s are a uniquely powerful time for retirement savings. You still have decades for compound growth to work in your favor, but you also likely have a higher income than you did in your 20s. That combination is rare and precious. A dollar invested at 35 has significantly more time to grow than a dollar invested at 45. Every year you delay costs you more than the year before in opportunity cost. One thing I want you to understand about retirement accounts that most people gloss over is the tax advantage. Whether you're using a traditional 401k, where your contributions reduce your taxable income today, or a Roth, where your withdrawals in retirement are completely tax-free, these accounts are not just investment vehicles, they're tax optimization tools. And in your 30s, taking full advantage of them is one of the highest leverage financial moves you can make. Milestone 5 is buying a home or making a very intentional decision not to. I want to be careful here because the rent versus buy debate is one where people have very strong opinions and where the right answer genuinely depends on your individual situation. But the milestone is not necessarily buying a home, it's making a conscious, financially informed decision about your housing situation. For many people in their 30s, buying a home makes a lot of sense. You're likely more settled in your career and location than you were in your 20s. You've had time to save for a down payment, and owning a home can be an incredibly powerful wealth building tool through equity and appreciation. But here's what I want you to think about. A home is not automatically a great investment. If you buy in the wrong market, stretch too far on price, or move within a few years, the transaction costs alone can wipe out any equity gains. The milestone here is doing the actual math for your specific situation and making a decision based on your own numbers, not because society told you that homeownership is always the right move. Milestone 6 is protecting your income and your family with proper insurance. I know insurance is the least exciting topic on the planet, but nothing wrecks a financial plan faster than a catastrophic event without adequate coverage. In your 30s, if you have dependents, people who rely on your income to survive, you need term life insurance. Period. It is non-negotiable. The good news is that term life insurance is very affordable when you're young and healthy, and your 30s are still young in insurance terms. You also need to seriously think about disability insurance because the statistical reality is that you are far more likely to become disabled during your working years than you are to die during them. Yet most people have life insurance and no disability coverage. If your income stopped tomorrow because of an illness or injury, how long could you actually maintain your financial life? For most people without disability insurance, the answer is terrifying. Let me pause here and acknowledge something. We're about halfway through this list, and you might be feeling slightly overwhelmed. Maybe you haven't hit any of these milestones yet, and you're wondering if you're hopelessly behind. I want to tell you directly that you are not. The fact that you're watching this, thinking about this, engaging with this content puts you miles ahead of people who are just going through the motions. Awareness is where every financial transformation starts. Take a breath. Pick one milestone, just one, and start there. Milestone 7 is building real, tangible investment wealth outside of retirement accounts. This is where most financial conversations in your 30s drop the ball. Everyone talks about 401ks and IRAs, and those are critical, but your 30s are when you should also start building a taxable brokerage account. Why? Because retirement accounts come with rules. You can't touch that money until you're 59 and a half without penalties in most cases. But life doesn't wait until retirement. Maybe you want to retire at 50. Maybe you want to take a sabbatical at 45. Maybe you want to fund a business at 42. A taxable brokerage account gives you accessible, investable assets that you can use before retirement age without restrictions. In your 30s, you have time for this account to grow substantially, and even relatively modest monthly contributions into a diversified index fund portfolio can create meaningful wealth over time. Milestone 8 is getting intentional about your career and income growth. This might sound like it does not belong on a financial milestones list, but it absolutely does, because your income is your most powerful financial tool in your 30s. The gap between someone who actively manages their career and negotiates raises and develops high-value skills and someone who just shows up and hopes for the best compounds just like money does. Think about the difference between someone earning $60,000 a year in their 30s and someone earning $100,000. Over a decade, even with similar savings rates, the higher earner has dramatically more capital to invest, more margin to absorb financial emergencies, and more flexibility to make choices. So how do you grow your income? The most reliable ways are developing skills that are in high demand, building a reputation in your industry, strategically switching jobs when the market supports it, because internal raises rarely match what you can get by negotiating a new position, and potentially building additional income streams, whether that is a side business, freelance work, rental income, or dividend-producing investments. Multiple income streams are a hallmark of financial stability. Now, here's where the emotional wave shifts again, because talking about income growth can feel intimidating or even unfair. Not everyone has the same opportunities. Not everyone has the same starting point. And that is a real and valid thing to acknowledge. But within your individual circumstances, there is almost always room to optimize. Even small income increases matter enormously when they are consistently invested. Milestone 9 is writing a will and setting up basic estate planning documents. I know, this feels like something for older people. It is not. If you have any assets, any dependents, and any preferences about what happens if you are incapacitated or die, you need a will, a healthcare directive, and power of attorney documents in place. Your 30s are exactly when this becomes critical, because you now have things worth protecting. A will is not just about passing money down. It's about ensuring that your wishes are honored and your loved ones are not left dealing with legal chaos during the worst moments of their lives. The good news is that basic estate planning does not have to be expensive. There are legitimate online legal services that can help you put basic documents in place at very reasonable costs. And a simple consultation with an estate planning attorney in your area can cover a lot of ground without breaking the bank. Milestone 10, and this is the one I promised at the beginning that almost nobody talks about, is building what I call your financial identity. And I know that sounds abstract, so let me explain exactly what I mean. By the time you reach your mid to late 30s, you need to have a clearly defined financial philosophy. Not just goals, a philosophy. What does money mean to you? What are you actually building toward? What trade-offs are you willing to make and what are you not willing to make? What does financial success actually look like in your version of a good life? Here's why this matters more than any specific number or account balance. People who have a clearly articulated financial identity make dramatically better decisions under pressure. When a financial emergency hits, when a tempting purchase appears, when the market crashes, when a friend pitches an investment opportunity, the person with a clear financial identity knows instantly whether something aligns with their path. The person without that clarity makes reactive decisions that often undo months or years of progress. Building your financial identity also means getting honest about the relationship between money and your emotions. Most overspending is not really about wanting stuff, it's about wanting to feel something: status, comfort, relief, excitement. When you understand what emotional needs you are trying to meet with spending, you can find healthier and often cheaper ways to meet those needs while keeping your financial plan on track. This is the work that sits underneath all the spreadsheets and the account balances, and it's the work that separates people who make financial progress from people who stay stuck in cycles of progress and regression forever. Now, let me give you something concrete to walk away with. Here's how to actually start tackling these milestones without getting paralyzed by the list. The first thing you need to do is assess where you are right now. Calculate your net worth today. Write down every asset, every debt, every account. Get the real number. It might be uncomfortable. Do it anyway. Second, identify which of these milestones is your biggest gap. Not all of them, just one. Where are you furthest from where you want to be? That's your starting point. Third, create one specific action you can take this week, not this month, this week. Maybe it's calling your HR department to increase your 401k contribution. Maybe it's opening a high-yield savings account and setting up an automatic transfer. Maybe it's logging into your retirement account for the first time in 2 years and actually looking at how your money is invested. One action this week creates momentum, and momentum is the single most powerful force in personal finance. Something I want you to keep in mind as you work through these milestones is that comparison is one of the most dangerous games you can play with your financial health. Social media has made it easier than ever to see curated highlights of other people's financial lives: the vacations, the home purchases, the luxury purchases, the investment wins. What you don't see is the debt, the anxiety, the financial fragility behind those highlights. Your journey is yours. Your timeline is yours. The milestones I have laid out today are not a report card that someone's grading you on. They're a roadmap toward a version of financial freedom that is defined by you, for you, on your terms. Here's something else worth saying. Your 30s are long. You have an entire decade to make progress on these milestones. If you're 30, you have 10 years. If you're 35, you have 5. Both of those time horizons are enough to make transformative financial progress if you are intentional and consistent. The worst thing you can do is decide that you have too much to do and do nothing. Imperfect action beats perfect inaction every single time. I want you to leave you with this. The people who look back on their 30s and feel genuinely proud of what they built financially are not necessarily the ones who had the highest incomes or the best market timing. They're the ones who showed up consistently, made intentional decisions, protected what they built, and never lost sight of what they were actually building toward. That can be you. The fact that you made it this far in this video tells me you have the kind of mindset it takes to actually follow through. So, here's your challenge. Before you close this video, write down the one milestone from this list that you are going to start working on this week. Not planning to work on, actually working on. Put a date next to it, tell someone about it, make it real. Because the version of you that exists in your 40s and beyond will be a direct reflection of the decisions you make right now, in this decade, in this season of your life. If this video helped you see your financial life differently, do me a favor and share it with someone you know who's in their 30s or about to enter them. This is exactly the kind of conversation that changes trajectories, and the more people who have access to it, the better. And if you want to go deeper on any of these milestones, I have videos covering each of them in much more detail, so make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on so you never miss one. I'll see you in the next one. Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss more videos helping you with investing, personal finance, and more. Check out this playlist of my top videos of personal picks, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.